Hello there, Professor Wiseguy coming at you with another 5-minute fix. Now, after my recent viral hit with hyphens, linked below, it occurred to me that we needed to take a look at a punctuation mark that's completely different from hyphens, but is still often confused with them. What is that dangerous piece of typography? The dash. Stick with me for 4 minutes, 30 seconds, and you'll be well on your way to avoiding any problems with dashes. You may remember that I compared hyphens to a clamp holding things together. Dashes are sort of the anti-clamp. They allow us to open a sentence up and insert something inside. The first thing we need to emphasize is that you can probably get along just great in life without ever using dashes. Hyphens would be pretty tough to ignore, but dashes are almost totally optional. But let's assume that you're not the sort of person who wants to leave a useful tool languishing in the drawer. Let's take on the challenge of the dash. Dashes, first of all, are not the same thing as hyphens. People will often refer to a hyphen as a dash, but what folly that is. Where hyphens are used to join separate things together to make something new, for example, a 3-day binge at a super cheap pizza buffet, dashes are used to insert something into a sentence. Dashes allow us to take something that probably doesn't really belong and to cram it in, like that pizza. This is probably easier seen in an example than in theory. Take this sentence. The entire group sheltered in the basement during the tornado. Now that's a perfectly fine sentence. But let's say that you wanted to jam some extra information in there. You could use a pair of dashes. The entire group, 17 adults, 2 teens, 3 screaming babies, 4 dogs, and a ferret, sheltered in the basement during the tornado. It's sort of like we reached into the sentence and opened up a space in which to drop off this extra information. Let's try another one. 12 people live here. Good sentence, but we throw in some additional information and we get this. 12 people, dash, far more than is comfortable, dash, live here. Now, if you haven't noticed it yet, dashes help us to do something that we sometimes do when we speak. At times, you'll be speaking, you know you do this, and you sort of interrupt the sentence and drop in a little extra bit, like when I said, you know you do this. Frequently, when we're speaking, that dashed material will be marked with a change in voice or maybe a change in focus or audience. We went to the restaurant. Penny, you remember this. The last time we drove to Springfield. That's the basic use of dashes. They're typically used in pairs, although sometimes when material is crammed in at the beginning or the end of the sentence, one will do the job. Let's see that by rewriting that tornado example from before. 17 adults, 2 teens, 3 screaming babies, 4 dogs, and a ferret, dash, an entire group sheltered in the basement during the tornado. That's at the beginning, but we could cram it onto the end. The entire group sheltered in the basement during the tornado, dash, 17 adults, 2 teens, 3 screaming babies, 4 dogs, and a ferret. Do you need to use any of these techniques? No. That's why I say that dashes are pretty much optional. But why should we deprive ourselves? Assuming that you set off to use dashes and keeping those preceding guidelines in mind, a couple of typing rules are in order. First, the dash is typed by putting 2 hyphens next to each other. In most word processing platforms, the pair of hyphens will magically transform into a single longer line, a dash. Second, dashes never have spaces before or after them. That's about it. So what's our takeaway? Use dashes in pairs or alone to insert information into a sentence. Use them when you want to draw attention to the inserted material. Type dashes by using 2 consecutive hyphens without spaces before or after. Do these things and you can cram information into your sentences without fearing the dash. Now, if you found that useful, then dash down and do all the stuff you know to do, right? Until later, though, get out of here.